So this is the disassembly video for this LED puck light. So it has the functionality where you can use a little screw to attach it to a cabinet, or you could put an adhesive sticky piece to attach this component of the enclosure to a surface or cabinet and hold the puck light up, and then you can push this button to turn it on and off. Okay, so first component to be disassembled. So this comes off by simply just twisting it. Do that again. So there's some words here: open, counterclockwise, lock clockwise. If you rotate it either of those ways, you can remove or install the part. The lettering is all part of the injection molded part. There is an alignment indicator on the two outer enclosure components. So you need to align these two lines to basically release the part. Helps with assembly, I think, most of all, because you can't assemble it unless they're perfectly aligned. So what's locking it in are these three tabs that are part of this enclosure component, this cover, and they lock onto these pieces, these little tabs. They slot in the clearance opening here, and then when you rotate it clockwise, they lock. They're spaced equally 60 degrees apart. So I would note that it would be easier for assembly if they had these indicator marks every 60 degrees. That way you're not relying on one alignment. You could find 3 different locations, because it works over here too, where it's not aligned. You could lock it that way too. Or over here. That also works. And it's not aligned at all. Okay, so that part's out. Then we can pop out the batteries. 3 AAA batteries. Okay. And then we have 3 small Phillips head screws, one here, here, and here, that I'll remove with the small bit driver. Okay, there's those 3 screws. And then this is our first sub-assembly. So I'll explain the sub-assemblies in a bit. But yeah, so it opens up like that, and you have a PCB with a push button, which this PCB is inserted onto this injection molded part with 3 small cylindrical features. And what I noticed, which was nice on these injection molded features, 2 of them, they start with smaller diameters, so it's easier to align with the 3 holes on the PCB. And when the PCB is fully pushed down onto the larger diameter, it's a nice snug fit that doesn't move around or shake. Okay. So this is a sub-assembly. We have an injection molded part, 2 battery terminals here, and then another sub-assembly, which I'll call the PCB assembly. So to remove the battery terminals, I found just using a flathead screwdriver bit, and then going in from where the spring is, just grab anywhere on the spring and just pry it out very easily. And these battery terminals, you don't actually need a tool to install them. You can just push them in by hand if you want. It's really easy. Only one of the, for the battery terminals, there's a larger cutout. For the negative terminal, the spring, it can only be installed in that orientation, which is a nice feature. So you can install them backwards. But yeah, you can just install them by hand like that, really easy, and they don't fall out. Okay, and then the PCB assembly, there's 2 injection molded markings for negative and positive that are kind of redundant because you also have that feature where only the negative can fit through the enlarged cutout here. But I guess it indicates where you should put the PCB assembly, where the marking is. So that could be useful, I guess. PCB assembly has 3 LEDs here, some resistors, some, not sure what these, yeah, resistors here, some surface mounts, resistors, a tactile push button for the on and off, 2 soldered on wire leads with battery terminals. So I'd say that's the second like sub-assembly here. And then we have this. This consists of 3 components. I wouldn't say it's fully an assembly because these parts are loose. They could come apart. So I wouldn't say it's a sub-assembly. So yeah, let me remove the first. Actually, I think it's best to remove both the light diffuser plastic injection molded part with this piece here. So we remove this. You can see it's sitting on 3 extrusions here. One of the extrusions has a slotted tab here, and that fits with only one of these features. They're spaced 60 degrees apart. I don't see why they couldn't have just allowed it to be assembled anyway, because like it seems like it would work, but they have this feature here, so it locks it in this one orientation. Similarly, I didn't mention this, but this extruded feature, it aligns with this hole on this part. And because of the wire lengths and everything, you basically have to install it through this hole, and the PCB assembly has to be installed in a certain way for the wires to, oh, okay, well that broke, whoops. It needs to be installed a certain way for the wires to be long enough for this hole to align with this hole. There's only one way the PCB can be assembled for them to align. I don't think that was totally necessary. I think it could have been more flexible, or you could have had more wire so that it didn't matter how it was aligned. Anyways, so yeah, this comes out, these two components, and you would think that, you know, functionally it wouldn't matter if it was, you know, any orientation at all. Shouldn't matter for it to work as a light diffuser. There's a small diameter feature for this to align on, so it's not going to be misaligned. It won't be like misaligned with concentricity with this white injection molded part. But they chose to add a small dimple extrusion on this feature that's very difficult to see and very small, and it aligns with this small hole. So that means that it should only be assembled like that, and then that locks its rotation, which I guess is a nicer feel, but functionally doesn't really matter. Also worth noting, on the white part, I did like how they had these kind of spring deflectors on the extruded holes here. So that helps, because if there's some tolerance mismatch, these things are pretty flexible. They can move in and out a little bit. They can rotate to align with these features very well. It's very easy to get them to align and snap together, which is nice. Like, they can be bent pretty far and nothing really happens to them, and then it's a nice assembly fit. So yeah, that's the disassembly of the LED puck light.